Having an exceptional relationship with your spouse affects every single aspect of your life and is crucial for experiencing your dream life together. I'm Rob Murgatroyd.
And I'm Kim Murgatroyd. Listen in on our honest, filter-free conversations as we navigate life and business together without killing each other.
You'll learn by osmosis how to transform the friction you feel in your relationship into a purposeful foundation that will allow you to grow together.
Welcome to the Friday Podcast.
Kimberly, the tea drinker in the house, Murgatroyd, how are you on this beautiful rainy day?
I am drinking a delicious little ginger tea. And you know who told me how to make it? This is like the stupidest thing, how to make it. Cut up some ginger, put it in hot water and boil it. Sophia's English tutor told me how to make it. What are you doing?
Oh my God, I had to get a piece of paper. Oh my God, I just thought of something.
What?
This is so freaking funny. An English tutor. An English tutor.
Oh, yeah.
An English tutor.
Tutor. Got it. Nice. Not that funny.
That's not why we're here today. We're here to talk about how everybody is stealing my shit. What the fuck is going on? Gary V, Bill Gates, they're copying me.
They're copying
The
you.
fuck? I don't understand.
No.
I was first.
You know what? Here's the
Sick and
reality.
tired of their shit.
You know, here's
Do you
what's
have Bill's number?
Oh my God. Here's what's funny about this. You and I back 2006, so we're going back almost 20 years. When we did Jet Set Life, when we created the Jet Set Life brand and that company, the entire concept was about living life now. It was about excuses are over. It's time to live. It was don't wait till you're retired. Don't grind it out for 60 years and then live your life. It was put shit in your life today because you never know. Life is short and you need to enjoy it. This is 20 years we're going on this. And then we developed this concept of dream life. What's your dream life and the vision and all of these things. And now, whether it's social media influencers or whoever, I'm hearing the words dream life come out of a lot of mouths on social media. I think it's going to be the new epic. And now big people like Bill Gates and Gary V are talking about work-life balance in the same way you are and redefining success and all of those concepts. And I'm so fucking grateful that, I mean, it's taken the world a really long time to come around, or the influencer world or whatever you want to call it, to come around to this concept that we've been screaming for 20 years, but they finally are. And it's a good thing.
All right, so let me set the stage for those of you that have no idea what we're talking about. I'm going to give you two quotes. The first one is going to be from Bill Gates, and the second one is going to be from Gary V. Bill Gates last week did, well, it depends on when this airs, but within, let's say, the month of May-ish, he did a commencement speech. And he's done a lot of them, but this one was a different one that he did. It was a school in Arizona, like northern Arizona or something. And he said, you know, I didn't believe in vacations. I didn't believe in weekends off. In fact, my office used to overlook the parking lot, and I would scrutinize the parking lot. I'd look and I'd see who's coming early and who's leaving late. And I want to get a point across to you guys. He's speaking to the students, obviously. He said, don't wait as long as I did to realize that there's more to life than work. All right, so let's take a beat there, actually, before I go into Gary. The first thing that me and you, the listener here, are probably saying is, of course, he arrived at that conclusion. He's rich. Maybe that's the case. Maybe he is rich. But what he did do is he discerned for him when enough was enough. He figured it out. This right now, enough is enough. In fact, I have so much that I'm going to give all of my money away. You know, he's in that club where they're going to give everything away before they pass. I think the lesson here is not, of course, Bill Gates did it. It's more when you come to the mountaintop and you come to Mecca and you realize that you are the richest person in the world, right? He goes back and forth in the top 5 of richest people in the world. You come to the conclusion that there's more to life than work. So you have to discern for yourself what that looks like.
The other thing that people don't realize because we're not in his inner circle is, what did he sacrifice? So what he's doing is he's looking and taking that reflective look on his life. He's divorced from his wife. Who knows the relationships with the kids? Who knows the relationships with friends? Who knows what his health is like? Who knows what his actual life, everything outside of his bank account, is like? You don't know how he feels about himself in the life that he's led. And like you, it's so easy to go, yeah, of course, when you're sitting on all that money, it's easy to go live life. Okay, sure. And who knows what he sacrificed? And he's doing some sort of reflective look back and coming to the conclusion that there's a lot more to life than just money. And I think that's the important concept to take away, because we've talked about this a gazillion times. When you're building something, and in the extreme case, Microsoft, right? When you're building something, there is only 24 hours in a day, and there is a sacrifice in time, and someone is going to get the short end of the stick. Whether it's your relationship, your health, your kids, your whatever, your mental capacity, your bandwidth, your stress, your sleep, something is getting the short end of the stick. There's a lot of entrepreneurs, like he's saying, who's coming in early and staying late. Well, if you're coming in early and you're staying late, family time is limited. Your sleep is probably limited. You're probably answering work emails outside of work. That is a very, very work-centric life. And I think this is a great realization to share, especially with a young person, a graduating class, to set the tone. Although I feel like he's sort of speaking to the choir on that one. You know, the young people are like, the new age of young people are striving for work-life balance out of the gate.
Okay, so I don't think anybody listening right now is not saying that they disagree with this. I think most people are probably going, it's true. And I think 99.999% of the people listening right now are not going to do shit about it. Okay, so my question to you, being an expert in this, is why do you think that is the case? Why will people look at this and go, yeah, I'll do this after I get the million? Why does it take somebody getting to the Bill Gates level of the 100 trillion where they go, this is a fool's errand? Why somewhere along the way do they not look and go, I'm good with a couple $100,000 a year. I'm good with 2 million in the bank. Why does it never end?
I think that, first of all, I'm not the expert in this, but I think from my perspective, let's take health, okay? So when do people get the wake-up call? When they have the heart attack. If you have the heart attack and you survive the heart attack, it's the wake-up call. You become a vegan, like, what's his name? The president, Bill Clinton.
The other Bill.
Yeah, the other Bill.
They're friends.
You become the vegan, right? You have the heart attack. You make the shift. You have that near-death experience.
The moment,
right? But in your life, the toll that overworking and allowing work to encroach on all the other areas of life, the toll that takes is small. And it's tiny little steps that end up leading to a big issue. And I think a lot of people convince themselves that when they hit the next goal, and that next goal is usually only, I'm going to call it 3 years. I should only have to grind like this for a few years, and then I'm going to be able to. And I'm only going to have to do this for this much time, and then I'm going to be able to. The problem is that goal never really ends in 3 years. And if it does end in 3 years, then you create a new one and a new one and a new one. And so what you're willing to put on the back burner, I think a lot of people are willing to say, I'm going to put the relationship with my kid on the back burner, because if I can just ring this bell and land this plane, then I'm going to have all the time in the world with them. And I don't think that ever happens, because as you've talked about before, people are constantly 3xing their goals. And they're spending, I also think in the case of many people, they're spending to the maximum that they're making. And when they hit and ring that bell, they're spending to that max. So they need to keep going to create that buffer that never, stops. So the things get put on the back burner. I think the intention is temporarily put on the back burner. But I think when you look at it in totality, 18 years go by, your kid's in college, and you forgot to take them off the back burner.
I just had a realization in what you just said. 99% of it was, it was interesting. But you said 1%, just fucking with you. You said 1% that was really fucking.
If this was a video podcast, which finger am I holding up?
I'm just fucking with you. You said one thing that was really interesting to me. They don't, you didn't say this, but you said it. They don't contain.
You said nothing interesting except one thing, but you didn't actually say it. So I'm going to say it for you.
They don't contain their overhead.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Think about this. If you set a rule where you said my overhead is going to, like I am, okay, so there's two things you just said. They 3x it. So they go from let's use 100 grand. They make $100,000 and then they go, okay, I got a 3-year goal now to make $300,000, right? As that money goes from 100 to 300, the cars get a little bit better, the private schools get a little nicer, the vacations get a little bit more. And so now they're living at the top of the $300,000.
Which is the same stress level they had with the 100,000.
The same stress. So guess what?
Yeah.
They go, oh, I need to ease that pressure. So now I want to make 3 times. I want to make 900,000. The problem is that they don't contain it at the 300,000 level. So the drive to generate the income just keeps going. But if they made the decision to go, I'm capping it here, and I want to cap it here.
This is our life.
Because if I don't cap it here, I'm going to keep generating to make more and more and more. Well, then therein lies the issue, right? Well, then somebody's going to say, well, but I want to experience more out of life.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is where the enough is enough concept comes in. How much money, like Bill Gates, maybe he spends, I'm totally making this up, maybe he spends $10 million a year on his personal life to have, his private jets and homes or whatever the fuck he has to live. But at some point he made a decision and went, I'm good. In fact, I think now that the kids are out and he spends a lot of his time
And he had
reading
to give Melinda
and
half.
And he had to give Melinda half. Belinda or Melinda?
Melinda.
Belinda Carlisle is not Melinda Gates.
That would be weird.
My lips are sealed. I think
we all just got a peek into your brain right there.
I think that the containment of the income is going to be a new concept that I'm going to roll out as part of my spring collection.
Yeah, but that's the Dream Life budget. Because the Dream Life budget that you do with your coaching clients and that we have in our Patreon community, that Dream Life budget is there because you're saying, this is my dream life. What does it cost? It costs X. Okay, so if your dream life costs $300,000, right? Then and when you do the Dream Life budget, what I think is great is it's not just all the shit you want. You take into account savings, IRAs, taxes, like you take into account all the things in the budget, not just what you want. And so you have that buffer, you have the savings handled, you have all the things in there. So you create that budget and then you're allowed to change what you want. And if you want to buy something else, you can, but you have to, the point is, and I think what you're talking about with when is enough is in such an important place because if you don't have that budget, then you don't have a number that you're working against. And you don't have to look at, like when you did your original Dream Life budget, you wanted a Tesla. But then you had the conversation about how much the Tesla really costs. What's the upkeep on the Tesla? How much are you willing, do you really want to spend your time working to get that Tesla? It put you against whether or not you really, really wanted it versus just going out and do it. And I think a lot of people arbitrarily spend on random shit that they don't really need or want to make themselves feel better that they're working so hard. It's like you work really hard, you get a good bonus check, and you go buy yourself something nice, right? Instead of working within the confines of your literal dream life and have a real plan. And so you never reach the dream life because you keep doing dumb shit. And so I think all of this, it's like a cat chasing their tail, that I think there's so many ideas in this. I think there's the external pressure to keep up with the neighbors, right? I think there is not really knowing what you want. So just doing what you think everybody else is doing, which is getting the new car or getting the new house or whatever. I think once you really get the clarity on what you want and then figure out how much that really would cost, I think it becomes much more easy to go, this is my number. And anything after this number, I'm not taking on unless I have the time. And I'm not going to let anything after this number encroach on my life, encroach on my family, encroach on my health, encroach on my relationship. And I think that's the point. So what Bill Gates is saying, don't wait as long as I did to live your life and do the things you want to do. I think there's so much packed into that people are glossing over that is necessary to have the conversation. So I'm glad everyone's copying your ass. You're just very popular.
Now that one was 99% amazing. That was really, really good. There's a lot baked in that I want to highlight. What you just described, I kind of call pulling levers, right? So to put into context, when I'm looking at this budget of when we came to Italy, we come up with whatever it is, a couple $100,000 that we need to move to Italy, to live the dream life that we want to live. Well, I look and I go, okay, Tesla, do I want to put the Tesla in? And had I not come up with a number for what that dream life was, I would have said, yeah, just put it in. And I would have went all the way up. Now, I've got to generate the income to be able to afford the Tesla. So what's better? Is it better to go, you know what? I don't value it the same way that I value going out to dinner, the same way that I value clothing, the same way that I value travel. I don't really care about that. So I'm going to take that out so I can cap it and stay within the budget because it's not that important to me. Now, if it was that important to me, maybe I would make the decision the other way. And I'd go, let's put the Tesla in, but travel's not that big a deal. I'm kind of really enjoying living in Florence. I don't really want to go anywhere else for now. So the levers give you the ability to keep that cap on your head. But I think a lot of entrepreneurs look at that budget and that cap as a negative. They look and they go, well, I don't want to cap my success. I want everything. I think you can have it all, but I don't think you need it all at the same time.
Well, and you're not capping your success. And by the way, if you die with 10 million in the bank versus 1 million in the bank, what the fuck is the difference? You're giving more away. Okay. But was that worth you not having a relationship with your kid? And by the way, if you can do it and have healthy relationships, friendships, hobbies, great health, go for it. But I've yet to meet the really solid entrepreneur who built something massive and didn't have to sacrifice. I've yet to meet that person. The only person that comes to mind for me in the world who seemingly has this all together is the guy you've interviewed multiple times, Strauss Zelnick. But he only has it because he has a system. He has 4 buckets. And if something doesn't go in the one of the 4 buckets of his life, what are they? His health, his family, charity, and what's the other one? Business. But there's 4 equal buckets. And so I bet if you had this conversation, it might be worth revisiting this conversation with him again, because I bet if you had this conversation with him, he would say that he would not let his work encroach on the other 3 buckets because the other 3 buckets need to be filled too. He's the only one I know.
And let me tell you, he does these 4 buckets like nobody I've ever seen. When you talk about health, he's pushing 70. He fucking looks 20, okay? When you talk about business, he's done everything from green lighting, Dirty Dancing, all the way up to, finding who's that singer that you like? That
what? You just made it sound like a donkey.
The college guy, the acoustic guy. Oh my God,
Dave Matthews.
He greenlit him that. All right, let's see what.
Well, no. But I want to say one other thing. Having a dream life budget is so helpful too, because you get creative. So you and I came up with this idea 6 months ago that maybe we would get a second property, whether we rent it or buy it or whatever, in the countryside. Okay. Because a lot of people here, we're in the city, so we go out to the countryside. So we wanted to check out this area, Bulgari, because it's close to the sea and it's beautiful. It's like Tuscany on the ocean, right? Or on the sea. And so we wanted to go check it out to maybe get a second home and go on the weekends or whatever there. So we went out to Bulgari for 5 days and we explored and we fell in love with it. And we really were like, okay, so maybe this is the next goal. Maybe we need to rework the dream life budget to figure out how we can add a second home. And then in talking about it and pricing it and looking at what would be even available to us within a reasonable price range for what we wanted, we played stupid idea time and came up with the idea of, why would we just not, how often are we really going to go? Maybe once a month. Why would we just not book the place we stayed? We basically had it all to ourselves. It was a winery. It was a villa on a winery that is private and you can book it. It's not a public booking thing, but we could get access to book it 1 weekend a month. And it would literally cost us, I don't know, 600 euros a month to secure 1 weekend a month versus 6,000 euros a month. And we'd still only be spending 1 weekend a month. And we wouldn't have the grounds. We wouldn't have the views. We wouldn't have so we played stupid idea time, and 600 euros a month is very different without that extra zero.
Yes. And there's also another thing.
And the quality would be better for us.
I've got a very, very dear friend who I do a weekly Zoom with. He's the only person I do this with. Every single week we get together and we just talk. We just make it a priority in our week. And he's insanely successful. It's a very, very large exit. It's got more money than God right now. And he's very young. And he's very, very wise. And he's advising me through conversation. It's just been fascinating to have these conversations with him because he's in the place that
everybody thinks they want to be in.
Frankly, most people don't even dream. Where he is right now, most people don't even dream as big as where he currently is. So it's even bigger than what the average person would think, or what even the not so average person would think. And he has an inordinate amount of real estate now among many, many other assets, like a crazy number of hundreds of pieces of real estate. And he has shared with me on more than one occasion that even with all of this wealth that he has, the management, and it sounds so like really, but I see it from a different perspective. The management that's associated with keeping up with all of these things that he's acquired is consuming so much of his post-exit that he is hating it. So when you think about, like yesterday, he sent me a message today saying that he was in meetings all day, really just trying to manage all this property, right? So when you talk about this Bulgari thing that we were looking at, well, if you really unpack that, if you buy a place, you got to furnish it. You got electric bills. You've got gardening,
especially
that
in Bulgari.
You got to look after. And I can make a list of 100 different things. You got to go to the commune. You got to pay your taxes for 1 weekend a month. Like if we sat down on a whiteboard and we wrote down every single thing, like if we talk to somebody who owns a house in Bulgari and tell me every single second and minute and dollar that you spent on managing this, we would fill that whiteboard with 1,000 little, how do you die? Like it's 1,000 paper cuts, right? You bleed to death from 1,000 paper cuts. That's a quote.
Right.
So eliminating all of these other things that are associated with the assets that you think that you want to have, you don't realize at how those little things erode into your life. Let's see what Gary Vee has to say. He says 7.1 billion people need to change the conversation of what success looks like. It's to wake up in the morning and be in a good mood. It's to redefine what we consider to be success.
And that's huge coming from Gary Vee, because it wasn't that long ago that it was, dude, you got to grind.
Well, guess what? Gary Vee got a divorce. He's got a new girl in his life, and
by the way,
he's taking his own medicine.
If you go back to early Gary Vee, where he was heavier, his health was at risk, obviously the relationship ended. This is literally what you're talking about every day, right? And maybe everything works out the way it's supposed to. So I'm not, saying that this would solve everything. But when you allow your need for success, and where does that need come from? Does it come from the void you need to fill from being, feeling lack as a child? Does it come from some insecurity around friends? Does it come from imposter syndrome? Like, where is that? Why do you need that? I'm going to put in quotes, success, right? Why do you need that to go after that? And it's not that you shouldn't go after it. I'm grateful people like Bill Gates created Microsoft. I'm grateful for people that this was their path. But just because something is their path doesn't mean it's your path. And our point is, what does success look like for you personally? Rob, you have a redefining success workbook based around this, because you acknowledge that you want to be successful in marriage. You want to be successful in raising your girls.
In the buckets that you talked about.
In all of the buckets. You want to have success across the board and not just focus on financial or business success. And so many people only focus on that, and they end up living to be honest, a subpar existence where something is always missing. And I think they use business because business is something they can control in their head versus these other things that feel like they're spiraling. Like if your marriage is spiraling, maybe you're diving harder into business, or if your health is spiraling, you're diving harder into business because you feel like you can control that, or maybe it's hitting some point of the ego. I'm not talking about not having impact in the world too. Like I realize that much business is about impact. And Rob and I are about to record a podcast that we do for our private community called On the Fly, about how we're letting go of things that are actually money makers in our business to do things that provide more impact and that feel more in alignment with us.
Yeah, we got a big announcement about that we're going to make to that community.
Yes.
And it's a little scary to make that announcement.
It is. And so, but we're talking about that, right? Because we're defining success in all areas, and impact is one of the areas. But listen, if you're going to have this massive dream of impact, but then you're going to ignore your kids for it, I'm sorry, I don't think that's worth it. So I think that Gary Vee, I love that because he has a very loud voice. And I think that him sharing this is only going to help entrepreneurs that are growing and trying to figure it out find more balance. But I'm watching a lot of people talk about living this dream life. And I want to stick this in the back of your head. When you hear someone talk about dream life, I want you to be really mindful to look at not just how they're living on social media. A lot of people talk about they're living the dream, but 85% of their day, they're on back-to-back-to-back meetings and they're grinding it out. And they don't show that on social media, but that's what's happening. But they're talking about the dream life. But if we flew to the States right now, we'd have to book a cup of coffee with them 6 months in advance. Like, that's where redefining success comes from, right? So keep in mind when you hear, because I'm telling you, dream life is going to be the new epic. When you hear that, look at who's actually living it. Like, who's talking about dream life right now? And I think backs it up 10,000%. Brett and Chalene Johnson. They are talking about dream life and they back it up. They're traveling, they're living life on their own terms, and they're helping people do the same. And I love it because they back it up.
Yeah, and I think they're a great example also of putting things in a few buckets, right? They've got the business bucket. They're very, very close with
kids,
their children.
Yep. Their relationship is amazing. Health. Their health. Yeah. they're good. So when you look at something like that, like I just want everybody, when you hear it, it's really easy to say, come help, I'm going to help you live your dream life. And then dude goes right into business, right? So dream life has more than just business.
And also look at the people that are giving you the advice. Okay, so last point I want to make is this one is this one's going to catch people off guard.
I can't wait.
Happiness over money. This is a
How dare you?
This is a hard one to say for a lot of entrepreneurs listening. And I've really thought this through because I know what, like, I'm going to say it for you because you're not here and I can't hear your voice, but I hear your voice. Really, what you're saying is when I hear happiness over money, I'm realizing, yes, I need money and that's going to make me happy. But I think if you have a guiding principle that says I am more interested in happiness than I am money, if I had to take these as values and move money below happiness on a value scale, I'm going to put happiness first. And I'll tell you what that's going to do. What that's going to do is it's going to make you look in your life to make decisions that are based on being happy and not making money. And I will tell you that it's not going to take your drive as an entrepreneur. It is not going to take your drive and make it go away. You can't make it fucking go away. I'm telling you, as an entrepreneur, you are always going to be driven for money. All I'm telling you is move the order and put happiness above money because you're going to do money anyway.
Well, this, again, going back to the Dream Life budget is what's so important because the Dream Life budget is all about happiness. What are the things that truly bring you the 80-20 on happiness, joy, fulfillment, and all of that? Like, that's what we're really talking about here. So that's why that doing that Dream Life budget and having that baseline for exactly what your happiness looks like. Like for me, you know what makes me happy? Going for a really long walk.
Yeah, you love that.
I do it here. It's not just because I'm in Italy. I did it in California. Yeah. I did it in Atlanta. I like to walk. Mm-hmm. And so I like to walk around and go wherever. That's free.
You're a mapper.
That shit is free. Mm-hmm. And so that's something that brings me a lot of joy. You know what else brings me a lot of joy? Going to Greece in the summer. That shit's not free. That has a price tag. And so I think, yes, 100% happiness over money. But I think if you put happiness first and not ego, not keeping up with the Joneses, but what brings you joy? It's Marie Kondo. What sparks joy? You put that first. You make that list. You figure out how much it's going to cost. And then you reverse engineer that. Dude, that's the dream life.
Do you think anybody's still folding their shirts the way she taught us on Netflix?
You're not.
I'm not. Mm-mm.
Thank God, too, because you tried to get me to do that. That was like peek into our marriage. Okay, sidebar here. Peek into our marriage. One day you sent me a video and you said, I want you to watch this. And if you could fold my clothes like this.
That's it, everybody. We are off to record our On the Fly, and we're going to make a big announcement there about some changes in our life. If you want to be one of our Patreon members, there's a link in the show notes. That's it, everybody. Have a great week. See you next week. Bye-bye. Hey, everybody, if you've ever thought about coming to hang out with Kim and I on one of our next Rob and Kim Italia events and you want to learn more, just click the Rob and Kim Italia link in the show notes and add your name and email, and we'll send you all the details as soon as they're available. We are obsessed with this country and how it affects you, and we want to share that magic of culture, food, wine, art, architecture, and some secret magic moments that we've cooked up with you. So be sure to add your name because these events sell out quickly.